Okay, it's 6 p.m. and we're having a constellation mission meeting in the town hall and also remote. And at 6 p.m. we have Forth Heights PR review and vote to approve for our citizens. And I need to abstain from that vote. So if you want to take it over, Mary?
Oh, okay, sure. Mike Penko, I'll also abstain because I'm on the board of the Medicom at Land Trust, but I will try to give everybody an update. There's like 3 different things going on right now. Some of the stuff we talked about in our last meeting this last week. First thing is the conservation restriction. Last week, the commission approved a version of the draft CR, that had language that was provided by Kathy Taylor. SVT, Tony, the SVT line protection specialist, has some serious problems with that language.
May I say something, Mike? We didn't approve it, we said it should be looked at.
We'll have to check the motion.
Okay.
We'll go ahead, but anyway, the commission supported that version of the CR, made that like that. Okay. Anyway, there's issues that need to be considered with that language, and we met with Kathy Taylor on Monday. Had a nice conversation. We also did a sidewalk, and I think everyone there agreed that you can tweak the language on the CR, and that's happening right now. Tony expects to have something to share early this week. He's going to take a big step, making some changes. Obviously, we're not going to be closing the project in December. It's just running out of time for the CR, but there's 2 others that also have come up. So it's not just the CR that's holding the thing up. So look for that. I think what I'd like to do is, as soon as we get that language, that Medicom and Tony is happy with it, I'll share it with Mary, and then Mary can share it with the commission. And if you have any comments on that language, you can give them to Mary. Only to Mary. Don't have a discussion online about violation. So perhaps by first meeting in January, we'll be ready to actually approve it. And we'll take the second issue. It's related to this indigenous issues with the CR. Is Kathy Taylor thinks that there is a indigenous stone feature on the parking enclosure, or parcel on it. Now, she thinks we can construct the parking area away from the feature, but she would prefer that the parking area be relocated in the other corner. And Mary, do you have those pictures?
The map. Or do you want the picture? Or
Well, the map first, I think, and then pictures. Oh, that's the stone feature. If you can zoom in a little bit, it has some serpentine look to it. If you can see right up here, there's like crack in the rock. It kind of looks like a snake head, then it kind of curves down. But Kathy picked up on that right away, and he's probably going to have Bettina Washington, who's the tribal Shippo, come take a look at it. But at this point, we'd like to stay away from that feature. And again, Kathy suggested we move the parking lot. If you could go to the, okay.
You want to see the plan?
Maybe the plan first. Just to show people. So if you could blow it up a bit. That way. Okay, that's cool. So right now, the parking envelope is right here. It's 50 by 60 right here. Kathy would like to move it here to this other corner. And we had initially also wanted to put it at that corner. And you'll see in a minute the pictures, just because it's an open area. But the grant administrator from the EA, named Vanessa, was concerned about the proximity of the driveway, the butter's driveway. So she asked us to move it from this location to the other one. But here's this is the property line here. The parking lot could go in here basically without clearing any trees down at all, or very few trees. The driveway could go in here. It was our preferred location because it was avoided. And Mary, you can go back to the other picture, the one that one. Basically, this is the parking area as it exists now. You can see there's a flag stake here, stake here. That's the so this whole area would be cleared to make a parking area in that location. So what Medicom and SVT are going to do, we're gonna ask Vanessa what she thinks of this whole thing, and see if she'd be okay with moving parking area to the other corner. But I also want to ask the commission about it because it is closer to the bar. And we all know, having dealt with parking areas, that sometimes the butters can be pretty prickly.
See if
It's,
expressed any opinion about
Not at this time.
it, they know?
They have, probably not.
Okay.
They've been.
it's also on the corner. Like, so if you move it close to the abutter, isn't the sight line looking towards Westboro a lot shorter?
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering about that, they talked about sight lines with the parking lots and stuff.
Well, this is going to be a very lightly used parking lot. I don't think there's much of a difference. See, here's the road.
Right,
I don't think there's much of an issue with sight lines either way.
It's actually, there is less visibility on the site that we would prefer. The site the existing site that's been mapped out has better visibility.
yeah.
And it doesn't look like much. There's just a little dip in the road there, but it's
Well,
enough.
so, yeah,
Anyway, let's just try, if Mary, if you could, I guess you showed the pictures. Maybe go back to the picture of the alternative site. Here's the snake, there's the current parking lot, here's potential other parking lot.
So where's the butters parking?
Yeah, there's
So
the,
where this is where the parking lot would go back there, so it's pretty close, right?
yeah, it's right, the property line is right about here, the stake is right about here. About here, so it's like maybe 30 feet or maybe 40 feet from the driveway. Anyway, that's where we are right now. We need to get Vanessa, the grant administrator, may say keep it in the same, keep it where it is to avoid, the butter. If it moved, we'd have to hire a surveyor to drop in a plan and record it, but I think we're willing to do that just to avoid the resource, if that's what people want to do. But I don't know, does the commission have any opinion on this right now?
Is the resource inside the envelope?
Yeah, it is, mostly, but it's on one edge of it. So
Yeah.
on the edge of it.
I'd rather keep it away from the abutter.
Any other comments?
Can you, I don't know what's in between the two areas, and also can you just make,
There's a stone, there's
big stone.
a bank and still wells.
And can you push the parking lot a little bit farther from the property to avoid that special feature?
We can't avoid the feature, within the existing envelope, you know, we put it as far away as possible. So we could have a, you know, three-car lot that avoided it. I wouldn't touch it, but. You know, Kathy Taylor's requested that we, you know, possibly avoid it entirely. Anyway, you might want to, if you get a chance, to take a walk up, you know, and take a look at the two location stage. I don't know if it's something we need to decide right now. And we need, you know, again, the SVT, and we need to talk to Vanessa. She may just say, yeah, just don't move it. It's the easiest thing to do is not move it, except that constructing a parking area at the other location would be easy. I'm sure it was place.
All right, we have Linda Gay here. Say something, and I just pulled up Alan, so you can see like it's flat there and it's kind of flat here, but in the middle there's some topography. Let me see if I can find.
Basically, one area, the hill is, if you're coming out of the parking lot, the hill is right. The other area, the hill is to the left. Same.
All right, Linda, you should be able to talk now if you want to say something.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I think if I was the abutter and you were looking at putting the parking, you know, nudging it closer to, you know, my property line, then I would think, you know, if during the winter months it's a little bit more visible, there's maybe a little less traffic. And Michael, you mentioned you don't expect it to be a heavily trafficked area. Is it going to be an area where people will be biking? Will there be biking in there?
Yes, it could be mountain biking. Yes.
Okay. So, you know, maybe if the trails are just directed away from the, you know, the abutter's property line, even if the parking is there, but the trails don't start till the other corner. I think that would be something that as an abutter, you know, that would make me less concerned about, you know, just having people, it's not like their house is right there, but just if they had a concern that traffic would be, you know, at the inner part of the property.
That is a good point, but there's actually a cart path that goes right up through this, kind of through the center of the property, maybe a little bit to the lower side. But already
Once you get out of the parking lot, if you're, you know,
whichever parking lot we use, we're gonna tie into that existing cart path.
yeah,
And there's enough of a buffer from the existing cart path to the abutter already, so it's the parking area, not the trail, that I think is probably the most problematic.
well, I think it's really cool that those rocks are there and that Kathy was able to spot them so easily. It kind of makes it valuable from the point of view of having a, you know, something for people to check out when they're there, you know, with you know, some sort of a reference point or waymarking sign or something like that. I think that is a really cool thing because it's so accessible and it's so big and, you know, obvious to her, but it can become more obvious to other people and make them more sensitive to everything isn't just a broken down rock wall.
Well, actually, in the interest of sensitivity, the Native American policies,
Oh yeah, don't tell anyone.
They don't disclose any of these things. They don't tell anybody that they're there because they're concerned that people will start digging and start stealing. So this particular feature, there will be no markers on it to identify it as.
I hear you. I forgot about that. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it's there.
I like the movie at the end of this, a shine of light in everyone's. Forget this. You like it?
You never saw the guy.
Anyway, okay, so that's, any questions from the commissioner of the audience on this whole question? And there's one more issue with Forsyths, and that's, we talked about this last week, too, that the title issue has not been resolved. Our attorney, who we're sharing with SVT, Deb Elias, and she's been our attorney, SVT's attorney for years and years. She's going to be working issues too, but she's definitely moving her office this week, so she's kind of hasn't really been able really to get to this, but there's going to have to be some conversations with town council and to resolve this. How long it's going to take? We're hoping to still close in January, but we'll have to see. The title company has refused to basically issue title insurance if that restriction is not removed. And SVT is leery about approaching this project without a title. They should.
Have you checked a different title insurance company?
I will ask Tony from SVT that. That's a good case. It seems like a real remote risk. I mean, just for people who haven't heard this, that there's a clause that was found by the title examiner that grants a trust a building lot on Forest Heights if there's ever an approved subdivision. There's never going to be an approved subdivision because we're preserving it with conservation restriction on it. But that clause still exists, and it was renewed in 2016 for 30 years. 2016 was a few years before the town took over the property tax time. So it exists.
Does the trust still exist?
That's a good question too.
Because if it did, we could just go to them and say, hey, we'll give you $100,
It's a neighbor. When you're up at that thing, the house.
It's not the neighbor.
It's the one after.
No, neither neighbor. It's nothing to do with the neighbors. That's the weird. Well, that's a whole nother thing. Those neighbors, near neighbors, were once promised a lot. by the
Right,
developer,
okay, right.
But this is not that.
Oh, I thought it was. I just
No.
assumed that was.
No, yeah.
Okay,
I did too initially, but it's a
Okay.
completely different.
a whole separate
Entity,
thing. I had
yeah.
no idea about.
It dates from the like 86 or something.
Okay,
And,
Yeah. So if the trust exists, see if they would entertain an offer. And if it doesn't exist, then the title insurance company should be happy because there's no trust to execute that clause. So either way, work out in their favor.
the trust was and the clause was re-recorded in 16. And then that person's name was associated with it. I don't think anyone stopped for this person yet, but I mean, that probably conversation that had at some point. And town council definitely needs to be involved. Because it's town property. Their problem as much as it is the land trust problem. The other thing, just to, I won't take too much time with this, but there's been for years, I've heard that there was a mica quarry on property, and Marcella and Kathy Taylor most likely found it last week. Marcella,
Yeah,
it's located on a hillside. And I know a little bit about it from my talk. If some of you folks remember Jimmy Bates Sr., used to be in selectman in town for many years, and he remembers it very clearly. His father and his father-in-law used to hunt out there all the time. And one time it was good partridge hunting, which was probably after there was a fire in like 35, which really burnt that area. So it's probably great scrub habitat for partridge. Anyway, they knew about this for many years. It was abandoned for many years. They told Jim Bates Sr. about it. And he went out looking for it, and he found it. And he remembered it very clearly. He said he was like 21 years old. He walked up, there was a road that led to an old gravel pit on the property, and it was near the gravel. Anyway, we will document that, and I think, I'll recommend to the town not put any trails near that either. Just as similar to the ceremonial stone features, get on people messing. Maybe take people up there during special visits, but we won't have any trails near it.
It seems to have been pretty well picked through. So I don't think there aren't chunks of mica sitting around waiting to be taken away. There's little flakes embedded in stone, and I suppose if you started hacking away at it, you might find something. But that's assuming that this is the spot, but it definitely looks like it's been picked through. There's rubble nearby, and there's not much mica there to speak of.
Okay, that's all I have for Forsyth.
Okay, thank you, Mike. 605, we had Baldwin Street, Beavers estimate.
Do you want to describe that? I can pull the.
You can pull up the stuff if you want. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but so Beaver Solutions came out. Some of you joined us. What they said was, and you'll see the whole thing, that they recommended trapping. The watershed's really too big. They're willing to put in pond levelers and other things. Cost will be $10,000 plus. They will not guarantee they work. Even if they put them in, they say, if you guys decide you were gonna get the money up and put them in, they should be trapped anyway, because the water will have to be lowered some, and the beavers will just keep raising it. So his suggestion was trap. If you guys want to put up the money, put the stuff in, and then the next beavers that come in, you might be able to keep them there, but he will not keep, they do not think it's really a good idea.
There are too many, he said there are just too many things to deal with. The culvert, if you try to stop them from blocking the culvert, they'll just make another dam here, another dam here.
Yeah, the culvert's actually the least of the issue though.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the dams, the culvert's not even a concern, but if you're going to have water high enough to run through that ditch, then you should put up that fence so that they dam that fence and not the culvert. That's like $1,300 or something. But to put the pond levelers through the main dam, then to save money, he's talking about a new type of system they use where you put fencing down by the secondary dam. Instead of a pond level, you just put this fencing across, get the beavers to build there. And again, it's in the thing. They've used it, they think it may work, but he said he feels they're just gonna keep damming below it. But he presented it all. You can do it. I like I said, we looked at this years ago and they said that pond levels wouldn't work. He said, well, maybe they'll work.
I have a question. I was not able to go on, I have a bum leg and wasn't able to go when he was there. But right now, I'm a little bit surprised to talk about trapping now, because there doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency.
He doesn't care if we trap. It won't be our decision to trap it, it'd be the DPW.
Yeah, but I know, I mean, the thing I'm confused about is the dam is already breached. It never got repaired. The beavers came too late, I think.
The primary or secondary?
Both.
Okay.
The primary, in fact, one of the beavers was taking sticks out of the primary dam. There's the area where water is still flowing through,
Still,
and it's still throwing through the side. And he was taking sticks out and going and stripping them and eating them. So he's using it more as a refrigerator, or food storage place than as a dam. And then, for the lower one, there, the water is still spilling around that. I mean, that one,
They're blocking the spilling area, that's it.
yeah, and then I think with the rainstorm that's coming up, this next week, it's gonna get breached, because every time it rains, they're not sturdy dams. So every time it rains, it just
Right.
washes through. So, I mean, so if we're talking about, what you're, what he's saying, and I haven't read the report, is if DPW determines it's a threat to the roads.
Yeah, he doesn't care about.
He doesn't care about that, then it's up to, but the report says that he would recommend trapping.
He recommends trapping. If the water level is concerned, he
Okay,
recommends trapping.
Okay,
That's,
okay, yeah,
that's-
no, I know, he has no skin in this game, he's not gonna say, come in and trap the beavers.
right.
But he didn't, the report doesn't, it just says if it reaches.
He doesn't say anything about that. He just says if the
Yeah.
water levels are concerned,
Okay,
then he recommends trapping.
okay,
It's the most cost effective way to do it.
okay,
And if you want beavers in that location going forward, there are things they're willing to
Okay.
do, but they're not willing to promise you that they'll work.
okay,
So that's what they're doing. They're not telling us anything to
Okay.
do.
okay,
And
okay,
as the season goes on, you'll be less likely to have beavers working on those dams, especially when you get ice,
Mm.
right? They'll stop working. And so let's just assume the water level doesn't get high enough that the DPW is worried about it.
Yeah.
Then you'll get through the winter
and
fine,
then,
but in the spring,
that's, yeah,
they're gonna start building that baby up.
Yeah.
And I am almost positive it will get too high.
And that's when they'll have kids.
Yeah.
That'll be
They'll have
sad.
they'll have additional beavers and stuff.
Yeah.
Right, but so they're not recommending a thing.
Yeah.
They're just telling you what they believe if the water level is an issue, the most cost effective thing to do is to trap. If you want beavers in there in the future, we're willing to put this stuff in. It may or may not work.
Tom, what process do we have now? We found out what we can and can't do about beavers. Does this report go to DPW and they make a decision? Do we make a
No, we just-
recommendation to
We
them?
just did it for us. I mean, we just did it for us. If you got, so just to be frank. First of all, we don't have enough money in our budget to do that, but I would not vote for us to pay for that. Because in my own opinion. It's my opinion, it's throwing money.
Remediation, you don't want to pay for the remediation. Installing the infrastructure.
Yeah, exactly, right,
Yeah.
yeah, right, I wouldn't vote for that, everyone else may.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's gonna work, it's the second time you approach it, but as a group. You got a lot of people there, you got your binoculars on the fence and we got all kinds of stuff. If you wanted to do it, you can work with Beaver Solutions, I can't speak for everybody here, but I would vote to allow that.
Mm.
I wouldn't hold that back, but I just wouldn't, I don't think it's a good idea for the town of Upton to pay for it. That's my position.
So
In the
Marcella
meantime-
has her hand raised. Oh, no, we'll give a chance.
Yeah, I have a few questions for Tom. They've proposed several different things we could do. Could we kind of pick and choose, like a menu and try to figure out what works? And if something doesn't work, move on to another, can we just choose the least expensive and see how effective that is?
So, sorry, I thought you were done, sorry.
Oh, and just a quick thing, one of the pages that they sent, they guarantee that that this will work and that they'll follow through, given that they're not fully confident that any of these, that this is going to work out. Does that guarantee apply, or do they nix that?
No, if you read the whole thing at the very end of it, you'll see that
Okay.
they're not confident. And that, if they don't know that it's going to work. They don't and I have a conversation, they gave all this stuff, I got it literally just before the meeting last week. I talked to them on the phone. They take their job very seriously. When they put this stuff in, they want it to work. They expect it to work. They don't know if it's gonna work. But I told them, I said, look, there's a very active group of people. They really like this, just tell me what you think. That's all, just tell me what you think and we'll just present it and, go from there. So, but Marcella, your point. The issue is twofold. You've got a primary dam that's creating backed up water that could get too high. You've got a secondary dam that's backing up the water that could be too high. So doing one and not the other, you're still having an issue. To address that area, the suggestion is to do it all. But if you trap, then maybe you put in the pond levels at the primary dam and hope they don't do a secondary dam, which in theory would save a bunch of money, right? And actually the secondary dam, they're not talking about doing pond levelers. They're talking about some kind of fencing. It's a new thing they're trying, which is a lot less expensive. But he does point out, and for the people that were at the little, when we came out by, he even said, it's likely they'll just build below it, that they'll, but, anyway, it's all there.
We're looking more
Website,
people online. We have John and Teresa. I think we're first, and then Linda. Let's see. I think I have to allow you to talk.
And I have another question, but
Okay.
And then
Hey
Kathy
there,
said
can you hear me?
We're available.
It's on the-
Hey,
it was-
I have actually, I can't tell if you guys can hear me. Can you hear me?
yes,
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was there when the guy came from the company, and it's very interesting, this report. Can you share that report so that the interested parties can look at it?
Yeah,
Public record.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, you can,
Is
have that.
is it easy to
on the
find?
website?
Can we find it on the
I
website?
don't know.
No, I would have to.
No,
I can email it.
Yeah, you can all have it.
I
like,
don't know.
it's
Yeah,
not-
well, just leave the site. I'll just
You
email
post
it
it?
around. Well, it's like
Three or
that's,
four pages, that's basically.
Oh.
and then
To
Tom, I
read
think
and then-
his initial email isn't really, that should go with it too, because he explains a lot.
Sure,
Okay. So I can email that to you. You want me to email it to you, Kathy?
And yeah, I could pull it. Oh, really? Okay, good. I'm gonna give you my email.
Yeah, that's it. That's great. We'd just like to see see the original context. Thank you.
And then who else? I guess Linda Gay also has her hand up. I don't.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, well, I have a couple of things. I think a question is there a thing where the deceivers either they work or they don't work? Because as far as I know Lauren mentioned that at Baker's Pond, those deceivers are not working. And, I don't know if we've tried to clean them out. I know in Southborough at one point, they put in a deceiver, but it always got jammed up. And so, there still was flooding around that area. And I guess it's kind of like if there's a very unique circumstance where the deceiver works, great. We kind of earmark the deceiver solution for that. But otherwise, it just does seem like they don't really always work. We have them in places that we spent money to put them in, and they're now don't work. And so, in that scenario, the beavers will have to be killed if they move back into Baker's Pond. I guess there's one there now that gets busy, but it kind of seems like it keeps coming up as like the deceivers, they don't always work, and Beaver Solutions says they don't always work. Well, then is that really an option? And if it's not an option, and then the choice is to either kill the beavers, because trapping is killing, then if the choice is you're going to You're going to kill the beavers because this scenario is either it's developing, it's not developing. You know, it's going to rain like hell on Friday. There's going to be flooding all over this town. I don't think that's a reason to kill the beavers because it's going to flood. It's going to flood everywhere. And there is infrastructure damage all the time. There's infrastructure damage on Fowler that has been there for 4 years. That doesn't get repaired. So between stormwater runoff and all the other things that create water scenarios that aren't perfect and that do impact infrastructure, separate from, you know, the residential impact, I think that this would be like the last place, the last reason. And I am coming from a place of really not understanding beavers and why we were so protective of them in the past. And now, not just because they're my friends, but because I understand so much more about their positive impact. And we go to so much trouble to protect land for the corridor, particularly the one, you know, right there at that corner. This is such a beautiful example of why we save land. This is like right in your face. Here's why we do it. Because these things can happen and they can exist. And we might get some flooding and we might have to put up a detour sign and a barricade, but we're going to be fine because there's all kinds of places around town. There's a place on East Street right now. The water is 6 inches from the side of the road. That I can't imagine there wouldn't be a detour there on Friday. I just feel really strongly that I don't know what the scenario is where you would kill a beaver colony because of flooding going over the road. And yes, I understand impacts the bridge, all the things that can happen, but that's happening everywhere in town for all kinds of reasons. This is not the reason to say, we're going to protect the infrastructure. You know, this is going to be where we're going to put our flag in the ground and say, here's where we're going to this is what we're going to do. So I strongly feel that we should embrace the beavers, embrace water. Kathy's going to get some, you know, she's going to have some elevated water levels. I'm going to have it on my property. It's okay. It's worth it because they get to live there. We get to be witness to it. And it's the whole reason that, you know, this wildlife is why we save land. I feel really strongly about that. And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. I just, yeah, I know it doesn't sound like you're making a decision today, but I do think from the beaver deceiver thing, we got to figure out, is that really something we ever want to pay for again? What is the circumstance where it works? Hands down, it always works. I don't know of a scenario that it works, you know, where it's proven to work around here. And I know.
Okay, so just a couple of things, Linda. Baker Pond, it is working. South Bar Road, it was working, but the beavers have built a secondary dam below it.
Okay.
So that's flooding that trail area now. I don't know what side of the road it is, but one side of the road is being flooded. So in the right place to work. Reason they are not likely to work where we're talking about here on Warren Brook is because the watershed's too big. It's for those beaver deceivers to work, you have to be letting out to keep the water level at the level it's at. The amount of water coming into the watershed has to be able to be released by the dams. So there's just too much water coming into that watershed to make it work with those pipes. That being said, you made comments about infrastructure and stuff like that. Those are not decisions made by this committee. We don't make those.
Yeah.
So, but the other thing is, you, in my opinion, you're minimizing the effect of people's properties being flooded. There were people, these beavers back in the day when it really got flooded. So one person couldn't use their water. Their well was flooded. People's yards were flooded. Their septics were flooded. Those are real life problems for people.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's not a little thing for some people. Some people, it's a big, big deal. I mean,
No, it's
everybody.
a big deal for me. I lost 3 acres and I'm at risk for, for
Yeah,
septic.
so I'm just
Do
saying,
that again.
I don't see it as a minimal, small thing as maybe you do, but I'm with you. If this was in the woods somewhere, I wouldn't care. I actually, you know what, I mean, I'm fine with the beavers staying there, but I'm pretty sure, based on what happened in the past, the DPW is not. The road washout roads are very expensive, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to want to risk the road being washed out. And it's not even washed out. The last time they talked to me, it's about the road also, the water being absorbed up underneath the road, not necessarily just going over it, the road bed itself. And again, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a road guy. You know, that's not a decision we're going to make here. But if DPW decides it's a public safety risk, those beavers are going to go. And I am guessing if the water stays good enough now, come the spring, it's probably gonna be a major problem. So that's all I'm saying.
Tom, I just had, just
Sure.
what you said, just to be clear. If the DPW feels that there's, a risk of damage being done to their infrastructure, they will go to the Board of Health. And the
Right.
Board of Health is actually the entity which can authorize the trap.
Yeah, right. I mean, like I said, it's not gonna be us.
Yeah, it's not gonna be us, and DPW will ask, go to the Board of Health, request. And the Board of Health is pretty, very rough.
Oh, yeah. Right. And the town has, the animal control officer does the trapping now, so I don't know how that works, if that's just as part of his job, or if that's additional cost, I don't know how that works. But the animal control officer does the trapping now.
I think Marcella has her hand raised.
Yeah, I have another questions for Tom. Did Beaver Solutions give you any sense of how effective any one of these solutions would be, depending on what season we do this? Like if we were to make a decision to install something now, is it better to do it in the wintertime, or is springtime a better time to do it? But then the beavers are more active and they got their babies, and how effective can it be depending on the season?
They believe if you're going to put all that infrastructure in, that the beavers should be trapped. That it's going to be a problem with the water level, that the beavers there now should be removed, then put the infrastructure in. So when the new beavers move in, they'll be much more comfortable keeping the water at a lower level, less likely to build additional dams. But these beavers already, when they get the water level up high, they want to keep it there, right? So, and they're very creative. And they find ways to block things that they shouldn't be able to block. So their recommendation was, most cost effective was to trap. They believe if you want to put the infrastructure in, they still should be trapped, then put the infrastructure in, so that when beavers move in, maybe it works and maybe it's fine.
So the sooner the better is probably optimal.
DPW doesn't have a problem with the water level, then there's quote, no problem other than culvert. Culvert has, but if the DPW finds there's a problem with the water level, then they're gonna trap them out.
Has the DPW, oh, sorry.
I have no idea.
Look, do you know?
Yeah, I was with DPW today, and the one on East Street that was mentioned, they asked me for an emergency cert for that, because it is,
Right by the road.
yeah, it's pretty, it wasn't 6 inches, it was a foot, but
Right.
it really literally was just a foot of road surface.
Yeah.
So they're gonna do that one, we're gonna, if we have time, we'll ratify it tonight, we don't ratify it another time. And they also asked about cleaning up the culvert, Mechanic Street.
Yeah, and I sent an email to Bill Taylor about that and the cost, and I asked him if he wanted report, I'd sent it to him, but he never got back, so I assume he already had it.
I just have one question. I know they recommended trap and then install.
Not the culvert, they said should be done right away.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, could you install first and then, if the beavers do react,
You can do whatever you want.
then you can, then you can trap.
Yeah, you can, no, I mean, yeah, you can do,
That would give them the,
you,
some slight.
yeah, you can do whatever you want. The water level, the primary dam is deep enough to put in pond levelers, right? So you can do that. The secondary dam, the water level really isn't deep enough for pond levelers, so they have this fencing option. And that, so you can do it whenever you want. But if you're going to do it, they still believe it's better to trap them out and then put the infrastructure in, so when new beavers move in, the water level will be at a level that the town's comfortable with.
So you remove the beavers, you adjust the area to accommodate the next family.
Yeah, you put in the infrastructure to
Just
to
summarize.
mitigate the issue of the rising water.
All right, and just to let you guys know, we have a meeting at 7 o'clock. I just see Maria walking by, so
That's
we'll
good.
have to shut
Yeah.
down soon.
I have been uncharacteristically quiet, haven't read the report yet, and so I don't wanna, comment on too many things without reading, and I wasn't on the tour, so, or when they came in to do the work. But I guess, one of the things we're talking about here is sort of, and I do wanna say that the Concom has been a facilitator to this. They have no decision, and I really appreciate you getting them to come here and, doing the work. That's very much appreciated, but you have not gonna make a decision, not gonna make recommendations, it's up to other people. I do personally have issues with doing this prophylactically, like taking action now, and I know this has nothing to do with you, but talking about having, coming in before anything happens, because right now the water level isn't that high. The dams are it's already spillways in both dams, and the beavers are not, the activity has been reduced. So what I'm hoping is to, buy a little bit of time so that neighbors can look at the report, people that are concerned about, they like watching beavers basically, can look at this and figure out, what options are, preferable. Just as someone who lives there, the time that the last beaver dam was destroyed and the beavers killed, which was about 5 years ago, it took 5 years for this population to come back. So it's not really quick. And one of the things I'm kind of hoping for is that they're are really exhausting their food supply. And so I'm kind of hoping they'll exhaust it and go up on their own. So we want to do any of this. So what I'd like is, and I think this is probably not a problem at all, but we need that report, we need to look at that report and to have conversations about it. And then, maybe, be aware that DPW and Board of Health may, I don't think it's gonna be a Board of Health issue. Does Board of Health, even if it's a public safety issue, the Board of Health is?
Well, the DPW goes to the Board of Health.
Okay,
Board of Health
even if it's a public safety issue.
Yeah, and they approve it. So, and you talked about a report.
The
I
4-pager.
Yeah, I understand it's not
Yeah.
a report per se, it's an estimate, but then there's
Few scenarios.
conversation and stuff.
Yeah.
He and we spoke, and then I asked him to put some stuff down.
That's the price list.
But I wanted, there is some sort of conversation that he wants, because I wanted him not to just give the estimates. I wanted you guys to see what they, that they were going to speak, that's all. Okay.
A quick
One last-
question. Oh, just a quick question. This recommendation from Beaver Solutions to trap, is that in the report they sent, or was that in the conversation?
Well, you're calling it a report, it's more of an estimate, but then there's verbiage that talks about it.
There's that
That
email.
explains-
But that's something that we'll see when you forward the emails. Is that right?
Yeah. You're
Oh,
gonna
great, great.
get-
Excellent. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, John and Teresa, as soon as I get it, and Linda, as soon as I get it, I'll get it off, I'll send it off to you.
Yeah, they don't
There you
do,
go.
they don't do this like.
Yeah.
I don't know, why am I here? I don't know.
Kathy, before you leave, Kathy?
Yeah, I am.
Kathy, leave. I have a question regarding funding. Tom didn't seem positive about having the town pay for it, but there's also the option of having the community raise funds for it. So I just want to put that out there. If there is enough of a support for protecting this area and protecting the beavers, we may want to do a fundraising effort.
Yeah, and that's what I meant. Said to them, if they wanted to do it, they said I couldn't speak for the members, but. Finding, I just wouldn't approve, I wouldn't vote to have the town pay.
But you put your.
That's what I said earlier.
Me too.
And if you back, I don't know where.
I'll make some motion.
I do, you get.
Second.
So I don't.
So,
So that's something else.
I-
Good night, you guys.
I love you now.
Chris,